There's a saying in Germany that carries a quiet weight. We are not responsible for what happened before our time, but we are responsible for what happens in our time. And here's the uncomfortable twist. The nation most associated with one of history's greatest moral collapses became one of the strongest democracies on Earth. So today we're asking a difficult but vital question. Why do some nations rise after disaster, while others never truly recover? Welcome to Nations and Notions. Together, we explore the psychology of nations, the integrity of institutions, the memory of civilizations, and the choices that shape whether societies rise or fall. And Germany, perhaps more than any other modern nation, forces us to confront the core of that question. Because if we want to understand national resilience, institutional integrity, and the human capacity to rebuild after catastrophe, Germany is a crucial case study. Today we're stepping into a story shaped by origins, fragments, empires, trauma, division, and reunification. A story anchored in medieval trade networks, architectural ambition, social hierarchy, dictatorship, collapse, and the long struggle for legitimacy. More importantly, we're exploring how the weight of history transforms a nation's psychology, how it teaches caution, humility, responsibility, and the slow, steady work of rebuilding trust. When we talk about Germany, many of us jump straight into the 20th century. But Germany's deeper story begins in a much more fragmented place. For centuries, it wasn't a nation at all, but a collection of duchies, principalities, bishoprics, and city-states. The Holy Roman Empire held them loosely together, but only in name. This patchwork created a political psychology built on decentralization, compromise, and local identity. Germany grew up without a single central authority shaping its national narrative. Yet these fragmented states weren't isolated. They sat on the continent's busiest trade networks. Cities like Lübeck, Hamburg, and Bremen were part of the Hanseatic League, one of the most intricate commercial systems of the medieval world. Its merchants built rules, arbitration systems, and cross-border institutions long before modern nation-states existed. This economic web shaped a cultural mindset that valued order, accountability, and cooperation across borders. And even then, German lands projected ambition. Gothic cathedrals rose out of marketplaces, castles dominated hilltops, town halls stood as symbols of civic independence. All this created a paradox at the heart of German identity: cultural unity without political unity. It meant that when unification finally arrived centuries later, it carried both immense potential and profound instability, and both would soon reveal themselves. When Germany unified in 1871, it did so with extraordinary force. Within a single generation, it became one of the world's leading industrial powers. Scientific breakthroughs, engineering triumphs, and global manufacturing strength rapidly defined the new German Empire. Yet beneath this success was a structural weakness. The political system blended democratic elements with deeply authoritarian instincts. Parliament existed, but the Kaiser held massive power, and the military operated independently of civilian control. This created a system that looked modern, but wasn't resilient. By 1913, Germany had actually surpassed Britain in industrial output. But when World War I arrived, the fragile political structure buckled under the pressure. Defeat came with humiliation, economic collapse, and a society desperate for stability. The Weimar Republic emerged from this wreckage, the first true German democracy. But it was born into crises, hyperinflation, extremist street battles, political assassinations, and the trauma of loss. Democracy requires trust, stability, and a shared belief in the rules. Germany had none of these at the time. And here's one of the most revealing facts in this entire story. The Nazis never won a majority in a free national election. They rose not because the public overwhelmingly chose tyranny, but because democracy fractured under pressure and elites underestimated the threat. Once the dictatorship formed, Germany plunged into its darkest era. The nation that once built cathedrals, palaces, and global trade systems now directed its organizational skill toward genocide and war. This wasn't just political collapse. It was the collapse of moral and institutional foundations. And the question that echoes through history is this: how can a society ever rebuild after such a devastating failure of humanity? The answer begins with defeat, not victory. In 1945, Germany was physically, economically, politically, and morally shattered. Millions displaced, cities destroyed, institutions wiped out, and the horrifying truth of the Holocaust coming into full view. But one moment defined the next phase of Germany's development: the division of the country into East and West. Germany didn't just split geographically, it split institutionally, it split psychologically, it split morally. West Germany, reconstruction through accountability. In the West, the Allies, especially the United States, pushed for a new political architecture built on stability, accountability, and a culture of restraint. The Basic Law of 1949 became one of the most carefully designed constitutions in the modern world. It created a strong constitutional court, federal states with genuine power, a restrained executive, protections for minorities, and mechanisms to prevent extremist parties from taking over. This wasn't accidental. It was a deliberate response to the failures of Weimar and the catastrophes of Nazi rule. West Germany then experienced the economic miracle, fueled by industrial rebuilding, external support, and a renewed social contract. East Germany developed under Soviet influence, creating a centralized system rooted in state control, economic planning, and political surveillance. The Stasi became one of the most intrusive security apparatuses in modern history. Yet East Germany wasn't simply stagnant or backward. It built significant industrial centers, ambitious architectural projects, and a strong educational system. But the core of its institutions was fundamentally different. They demanded loyalty, not trust, conformity, not legitimacy. It was a society held together by pressure, not cohesion. And people felt that difference. At one point, over 20% of East Germany's population attempted to flee to the West. The Berlin Wall didn't just divide a city. It represented two competing visions of government, identity, and the meaning of progress. The wall falls, and the real work begins. When the wall fell in 1989, the world celebrated. But the collapse of East Germany set the stage for one of the most complex national reintegrations in modern history. Reunification demanded merging economies, legal systems, and cultural expectations. It demanded confronting grievances, disparities, and decades of institutional separation. And yet, Germany made a choice: treat reunification not as victory, but as responsibility. The country still invests tens of billions annually in former East German states to promote cohesion. It continues to work through differences in political attitudes, economic development, and cultural memory. Reunification was not instant healing. It was the beginning of a long process of rebuilding trust. Germany today stands as one of the world's strongest democracies, with high institutional trust, stable governance, and a foreign policy defined by diplomacy and restraint. But these strengths didn't appear out of nowhere. They emerged from a national psychology shaped by the memory of collapse. Germany approaches governance with a kind of deliberate caution. It builds institutions slowly, protects them rigorously, and invests heavily in political education and historical awareness. Some of this can feel overly careful. Coalition governments take time. Policies move through multiple layers of negotiation. Sudden shifts are rare. But behind this style is a deeply learned lesson. When institutions fail, the consequences are catastrophic. This is why Germany embeds memory into public education, protects minority rights rigorously, supports a strong, independent judiciary, maintains strict controls on extremist groups, and prioritizes societal cohesion even when it is costly. Germany is not perfect, no country is, but its trajectory after collapse offers a rare insight into national resilience. So back to our central question. Why did Germany rise after one of the deepest collapses in human history, while other nations remain trapped? Because recovery isn't just about rebuilding cities or restarting economies. It's about rebuilding the social fabric, the moral compass, and the institutional framework that holds a society together. Germany confronted its past instead of rewriting it. It built institutions that earn trust, not obedience. It invested in cohesion instead of domination. It replaced myth-making with remembrance. It treated legitimacy as something to be earned continuously, not assumed. And because of that, Germany transformed collapse into one of the most remarkable national recoveries of the modern world. As we end, we're left with questions that go far beyond Germany. What are the fragile points in our own institutions? What histories do we avoid confronting? And what would resilience look like if we truly valued legitimacy, accountability, and collective memory? Let's talk about it in the comments.